I'm Ava, 33, knee-deep in the world of web design, and married to Mark, a guy who could charm the socks off anyone with his goofy smile. We met back in college, at some dingy bar where the music was too loud, and the drinks were cheap. I was trying to drown my exam stress in a pint of the most watered-down beer you could imagine when Mark sidled up, all confidence and bad pickup lines. "You look like you've lost your last friend, can I apply for the position?" he had said, and despite the cheesiness, I laughed. That laugh sealed our fate. Fast forward through years of cramped apartments, late-night takeouts, and dreams bigger than our paychecks, we tied the knot, ready to start a family. But, as it turned out, dreaming was the easy part. Years went by with no baby in sight. Every negative test felt like a punch in the gut, and the silence in our home grew louder with each passing month. Mark tried to keep things light, always the joker, but I saw the strain behind his eyes. "Hey, we still got each other, right? Me, you, and this invisible baby makes 3. He'd jest, trying to wrap me in a hug as I stared off into space, wondering why something that came so easily to others was out of our reach. One chilly morning, feeling off and a bit queasy, I called in sick. Alone, with Mark off to work, I found myself staring at a pregnancy test in the bathroom. "What the heck?" I muttered to myself, the words echoing off the tiles. The silence of waiting was suffocating, and when those 2 little lines appeared, I couldn't breathe. "No freaking way," I whispered, my heart slamming against my ribs. I was still staring at the test, disbelief and joy warring in my chest, when Mark came home. He found me on the sofa, the test clutched in my hand like some precious talisman. "What's up? You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, dropping his keys and coming over. We're pregnant," I managed, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. He froze, his eyes flicking down to the test and then back up to meet mine. "Are you shitting me?" he blurted out, the shock on his face mirroring my own feelings. "No, I'm not," I said, a laugh bubbling up from somewhere deep inside. "I'm not shitting you." The moment stretched out between us, filled with a wild, disbelieving joy. Then, Mark scooped me up, twirling me around like we were in some kind of movie. "I'm gonna be a dad," he yelled, laughing, his usual reserve lost in the moment. The next day, he came home with a small box, wrapped clumsily in shiny paper. "For you," he said, a shy grin on his face. Inside was a pair of earrings, mother of pearl, shimmering softly. They were beautiful, unusual, and very noticeable. "To celebrate our little miracle," he said, his voice thick. I touched the earrings, then reached up to kiss him. "Thank you," I whispered, my eyes filling with tears. Not just for the gift, but for this moment, for us, for everything we had endured to get here. Mark, always the one to break a sentimental moment with humor, winked and said, "Now, don't go saying I never give you anything nice." Those earrings became my talisman, a symbol of our unexpected joy, a reminder of the day everything changed. After the initial shock and joy, reality set in. Pregnancy wasn't the glowing experience I'd been sold by every happy family photo and movie. It was hard, really hard. Morning sickness should have been called all-day sickness. I was a web designer by trade, glued to my screen, but now even the faint glow made me queasy. Mark was as supportive as he could be, but there's only so much understanding a guy can have when he's not the one turning into a human barf machine. "Babe, can you try working from the bed? Maybe it'll help," he suggested one evening, finding me hunched over the trash can in our tiny office. I shot him a look, half irritated, half grateful for his clumsy attempts at problem solving. "Yeah, 'cause coding while lying down is peak efficiency," I snapped, immediately regretting my sharpness. "Sorry, it's just, this is tough." As the weeks trudged on, my body became a foreign entity. I gained weight, my back ached constantly, and I developed a weird aversion to the smell of coffee, which used to be my morning lifeline. Mark tried to help by switching to tea, but he wasn't happy. "This is like drinking sad water," he complained one morning, staring mournfully at his mug. I'd kill for a cup of sad water that didn't make me want to hurl, I retorted, sipping ginger tea that did nothing for my nausea but was supposed to be good for me. Work became my refuge, the one place I felt some control, even as my body rebelled. My manager, seeing my struggle, offered me the chance to work remotely. Take care of yourself, Ava. We need you at your best, not at your breaking point, she advised over a video call, her face a pixelated mask of concern. Thanks, I'll try not to code any bugs into the system along with the baby, I joked, grateful for her understanding. Mark was thrilled when I told him about the remote work arrangement. That's fantastic. You can barf in the comfort of our home now, he said, wrapping me in a careful hug. Yeah, the glamour is non-stop, I replied dryly, leaning into his warmth. But as the months wore on, the challenges only grew. Every appointment, every ultrasound, was a mix of terror and excitement. Mark was a rock, holding my hand, making bad jokes to the doctors, and promising over and over that he'd be there, no matter what. But as much as Mark was there for me, I couldn't shake the feeling of isolation. My body was doing something miraculous, sure, but it felt more like an alien takeover. I envied women who breezed through pregnancy, who glowed and thrived, while I barely survived. One particularly hard day, after a night of no sleep and too much heartburn, I broke down. I don't know how I'm supposed to do this, Mark. How do women do this more than once? I feel like I'm falling apart. Mark, ever my rock, pulled me close, stroking my hair back from my tear-streaked face. Hey, we'll get through this. You're the strongest person I know. And remember, at the end of this, we get to meet our little alien overlord. That's got to be worth all the sad water and barf, right? I couldn't help but laugh through my tears. Yeah, I guess it is. That was our life now, a series of tough days brightened by moments of humor and love. Despite the difficulties, despite the fear and the pain, we were in it together, waiting for the day our lives would change forever. And in those hard, dark moments, that was enough to keep me going. After the baby came, I thought we'd be living in some kind of bliss. But, let me tell you, it was anything but. Our little bundle of joy? More like a tiny tyrant who refused to sleep. Night after night, it was just me, pacing the floor, trying every trick in the book to get him to settle. Mark? Useless. I've got work in the morning, he'd grumble from under the pillows, as if I was heading off to a spa day instead of logging into my own mountain of work with a side of zombie-like exhaustion. Great, 'cause apparently I don't work, right? I'd snap back, bitterness creeping into my voice. It wasn't like my job just paused because I had a baby. Then, just when I thought we were getting the hang of it, life threw another curveball. I was pregnant again. The shock of it nearly bowled me over. This can't be happening, I whispered to myself, staring down at the test. 2 kids under 2? How were we going to manage? Mark's reaction? This is great news. He beamed, clearly not the one who'd have to push another human out of his body or juggle meetings with morning sickness. Great? Mark, we're barely hanging on as it is, I retorted, my stress levels skyrocketing. We'll manage. We always do, he said, but his words felt hollow. Easy for him to say. His parents, Diane and Jack, bless them, swooped in like some kind of cavalry. They'd drive in from out of town, armed with casseroles and an eagerness to help. You kids need a break, they'd insist, taking over with a competence that left me both grateful and a little resentful. Why couldn't it be this easy for us? When our daughter arrived, all those fears and frustrations seemed to melt away, at least for a little while. Holding her, everything just fit. Like she was the piece of our family puzzle we didn't know was missing. Hello, beautiful, I whispered, tears of joy replacing those of exhaustion. But the reality was, we were in over our heads. Mark was over the moon about our daughter, sure, but his solution to our chaos was to dive even deeper into work. We need the money, he'd say, a defense that was getting old. More than we need you? I'd counter, watching the gap between us grow wider with every late night and missed dinner. His parents became our lifeline, filling in the gaps, supporting us when we were too stubborn to admit we needed it. It was a weird mix of gratitude and guilt, relying on them so much. In those early days, staring down at my daughter's face, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could make this work. But as the sleepless nights stacked up and Mark's presence became more and more like a guest appearance, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were drifting further apart. Look at her, Mark. She's perfect, I'd say during one of his rare moments at home, hoping to bridge the gap between us. Yeah, she is, he'd agree, but his eyes were always on the clock, his mind elsewhere. After our second kid came into the picture, things didn't magically get easier like I hoped. Between the sleepless nights and trying to keep up with work, I noticed the pounds piling on. It wasn't just the baby weight anymore, it was stress, lack of sleep, and grabbing whatever I could eat during a rare moment of peace. Mark? He seemed more distant than ever. Where we used to crash on the couch together, exhausted but together, now there was just this cold space. I told myself it was just a phase, that we'd get back on track soon. But deep down, I was worried. His work became his excuse for everything. Late nights, weekends, even business trips that seemed to pop up out of nowhere. Meanwhile, I was killing it at work, somehow managing to juggle deadlines and diapers. The kids, bless them, were turning out to be my little motivators. Seeing them thrive, especially after I managed to get them into a decent private kindergarten, gave me a weird sense of accomplishment. But Mark and I? We were like ships passing in the night. And when he finally did drop his bombshell, it hurt like hell. "You've let yourself go," he said one night, out of the blue. No lead up, no gentleness, just those words, cutting deep. I was stunned. "Excuse me?" He shrugged, as if he'd just commented on the weather. "You're not. I'm just not attracted to you anymore." It felt like a punch to the gut. Here I was, trying to hold everything together, and this was what I got. Tears stung my eyes, but I was too proud to let them fall in front of him. "So, what? You're just giving up on us?" He didn't even have the decency to look conflicted. "I don't know, Ava. It's just how I feel." That night, I cried myself to sleep, not sure how we'd gotten to this point. But by morning, I was done feeling sorry for myself. I decided to take control, for me and for our kids. I started eating better, joined a gym, and threw myself into my workouts with a vengeance. Mark's reaction? If you could call it that, was a big fat nothing. He noticed, sure, but he didn't care. Not really. He was too caught up in his own world, treating the kids like they were more of a burden than a blessing. "We should have thought this through," he'd say, casting a cold eye over the chaos of toys and laughter. I bit back the sharper retorts that came to mind. Arguing wouldn't change how he felt, but I couldn't help but wonder when he'd become this person, so distant from the man I'd married. Despite it all, I pressed on. The gym became my sanctuary, a place where I could shed the weight and the worries. Slowly, I started to see progress, feeling stronger, more like myself than I had in years. But as I changed, Mark stayed the same. Indifferent. Distant. It was like we were living separate lives under the same roof. I missed him, or at least, I missed the idea of him, of us. Our wedding anniversary was rolling around, a day that used to mean champagne toasts and stolen kisses. This year, though, it felt more like a reminder of everything that had gone sideways between Mark and me. But I'm a fighter, always have been. So, I cooked up a plan to maybe, just maybe, salvage whatever was left of us. I called Mark during one of his rare breaks at work. "Hey, our anniversary's coming up. Thought maybe we could do something special," I ventured, heart hammering. There was a pause, long enough for me to regret bringing it up. "Sure, Ava. What did you have in mind?" His voice was flat, distracted. I pressed on, nerves be damned. "How about a weekend getaway?" Just us, no kids, no distractions. Sounds expensive, was his immediate response, and I could almost hear his eyebrows raising in skepticism. I bit back a sigh. I found a deal. It'll be nice, Mark. Like old times. He was silent for a moment. All right, book it. But it's your show, Ava. I'm swamped here. Not exactly the enthusiastic partner I was hoping for, but I'd take it. I went all in, booking a cozy hotel room and arranging for his parents to watch the kids. I needed, this weekend to be a turning point for us. The day before our trip, I laid out the dress I'd bought especially for the occasion. I tried to find the mother-of-pearl earrings that Mark gave me, but they were missing somewhere. It's okay, I thought, because everything else is ready. I waited for Mark at the hotel, anticipation turning to anxiety as the hours ticked by. My phone was silent, his side of the bed untouched. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I called him, my voice shaking. Mark, where are you? You're late. Look, Ava. I'm not coming, he said, and just like that, my fragile hope shattered. What do you mean you're not coming? It's our anniversary, Mark. I was on my feet now, pacing the room. He sighed, a sound that felt like a slap. I can't do this, Ava. Pretend everything's okay. I'm sorry. The world spun. So that's it? You're giving up on us? My voice broke, the hurt too raw, too deep. I don't know what else to do, he admitted, and the finality in his voice was a blow I wasn't prepared for. I hung up, numb. The night stretched on, endless and empty. I didn't sleep. How could I? Every second was a reminder of the gaping chasm between us, of the love we'd lost somewhere along the way. The next morning, I made a decision. If Mark had given up, fine. But I wouldn't let this break me. I spent the day at the hotel spa, walked along the beach, and dined alone, surrounded by couples. It was both liberating and profoundly sad. Returning home, I braced myself to face Mark, to confront the ruins of our marriage. But the house was quiet, too quiet. His parents greeted me with confusion and concern. Where's Mark? They asked, echoing the hollow ache in my heart. I didn't have an answer. The truth was, I didn't know where my husband was, physically or emotionally. Our anniversary, once a celebration of us, had turned into a stark, painful milestone marking the end of us. In that moment, I knew things couldn't go on like this. The distance, the silence, the pain, it was too much. I needed more, deserved more. It was time for a change, time to face the future, whatever it might hold, head on. But first, I needed to find those earrings, the last link to a time when love, not loneliness, filled our home. They were gone, just like the man who'd given them to me. And with that realization, the last piece of my broken heart finally gave way. The next few days were a blur of routine, taking care of the kids, working, and the constant, nagging thought of Mark's absence. It wasn't until I was out in the yard with the kids that the piece of the puzzle I wasn't even aware was missing fell right into my lap, or, more accurately, walked right up to my fence. It was our neighbor, Jenny, young and always friendly, but I hadn't really spoken to her since the kids came. Today, she was all smiles, waving at the kids. That's when I saw them, the earrings. My earrings. The mother-of-pearl ones Mark had given me, shimmering in the sunlight as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Nice earrings, I said, trying to keep my voice steady but feeling the sting of betrayal. Jenny touched one ear self-consciously. Oh, these? They were a gift from someone special. She stumbled over her words, her face flushing. Someone special, huh? I couldn't hide my skepticism. They look a lot like a pair I used to love. Went missing recently. The conversation was awkward, full of half-truths and dodged looks. It was clear there was something she wasn't saying. Later that evening, I confronted Mark. We need to talk, I started, my voice firm despite the turmoil inside. What's up? He tried to sound casual, but I could see the tension in his posture. It's over, Mark. I'm filing for divorce, I said without preamble, watching his reaction closely. He blinked, taken aback. What? Why? Don't play dumb. I know about Jenny. The earrings, Mark. And everything else. I pressed on, feeling a mix of anger and heartbreak. For a moment, he looked genuinely shocked. But then, his expression shifted to something darker. He laughed, a harsh, angry sound. So, you found out? Yes, I've been seeing Jenny. Gave her those earrings, because I wanted to. I don't care about us anymore, Ava. His words were like a knife. But I was prepared. I want you out, Mark. And I expect financial compensation for your adventures. He exploded at that. Compensation? You won't get a dime from me. That's when I played my final card. Actually, I recorded our conversation just now. Your confession. It'll be more than enough for court. Mark's anger turned to disbelief, then fear. You can't do that. I just did, I said, the finality in my voice marking the end of our marriage and the beginning of my fight for justice. After I decided to file for divorce, things moved quickly. Armed with the evidence of Mark's infidelity, I felt a grim satisfaction knowing I had the upper hand. The court didn't hesitate. They saw right through Mark's excuses and awarded me financial compensation and alimony for the kids. It was a small victory in the grand scheme of things, but it felt significant. Mark's parents, surprisingly, came out firmly on my side. It was a bitter pill for Mark, realizing he'd lost not just his marriage, but the support of his family too. One afternoon, while the kids played in the yard, Mark's mom, Diane, and I sat down for a rare moment of quiet. We're so sorry, dear, she began, her voice thick with emotion. We never raised him to be this way. I nodded, not sure what to say. The betrayal still stung, but seeing them stand by me meant more than I could express. I appreciate you both. The kids love having you around. Diane reached over and squeezed my hand. They're our grandkids. We'd do anything for them. And for you. You're more of a daughter to us now than ever. Life after the divorce wasn't easy, but it was mine. The house felt emptier, yet somehow fuller too. Full of possibility, of new beginnings. The kids adapted, resilient as ever, finding joy in the simplest moments. And me? I threw myself into work and motherhood, determined to build a bright future for us. One day, I was at the park with the kids, watching them play, their laughter a balm to my soul, when Diane joined me on the bench. You're doing an amazing job, Ava, she said, her tone sincere. Thanks, Diane. It means a lot, coming from you. We miss you guys when you're not around, I replied, grateful for her and her husband's unwavering support. We wouldn't be anywhere else. Those kids, and you, are our family, no matter what Mark has done, she stated firmly. The conversation shifted to work, to the kids' latest antics, to the future. It was comforting, this new normal we'd established. A testament to the fact that family isn't always defined by blood, but by the bonds you build. As the months passed, I found strength I didn't know I had. The gym became a regular escape, not just for my physical health, but for my mental well-being too. My body grew stronger, and with it, my confidence. Then, one unexpected afternoon, I ran into Mark at a local cafe. The man sitting across from me was a stranger in many ways, worn down by his choices. Ava, you look great, he said, almost in awe. I nodded, polite but distant. Thanks, Mark. How have you been? Struggling, he admitted. Listen, I've been thinking, maybe we could start over? I've changed, Ava. The words hung in the air, a tempting offer to rewind time. But looking at him, I realized I didn't want to go back. I had moved forward, built a life that was whole and happy without him. Mark, I wish you well, I really do. But that part of my life is over. The kids and we're doing great. It's best we keep moving in our own directions, I said, my voice steady. He nodded, disappointment etched on his face. I understand. I miss the family, you know? I know, but we're doing just fine. Take care of yourself, Mark, I replied, standing to leave. Walking away, I felt a surge of empowerment. The encounter, brief as it was, reinforced how far I'd come. I was no longer the woman who waited for her husband to come home. I was Ava, strong, independent, and thriving.